This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale here in Abuja. So, someone will say, at last, the tax reform bills is scaled the second reading, but that is not the last hurdle. It's just the beginning, because right now it does look like it's set for public hearing. But what lies ahead for these very critical 4 pieces of legislation that has been proposed by the executive? It is being debated intensely today on the floor of the House. Nothing yet we heard from the Senate, but I will be bringing you up to speed with what happened. But first and foremost, before we get into all of that, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says President Bola Tinubu remains committed to ensuring inclusivity and national development. He stated this at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, during the formal handover of the property and assets of Knock University to the federal government by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. President Tinubu had directed the Federal Ministry of Education to rename the privately owned institution to the Federal University of Applied Sciences, Kachia, Kaduna State, following an order of final forfeiture given by a federal high court in Abuja.
Let's coalesce into a single cause, irrespective of differences in political affiliations, religious persuasions, tribal or sectional background.
The president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Mr. Joe Ajero, is asking the government of Kogi State to sustain the improved welfare of workers in the state. Mr. Ajero told workers in the state on the need to enjoy the dividends of democracy in order to drive efficiency. Mr. Ajero was speaking at the presentation of CNG buses to workers in Kogi State.
That of movement of goods and services from one part of the country to the other will also be solved. So what CNG and adopt CNG technology and see the benefits inherent therein.
The Victor Okojumbo-led Rivers State House of Assembly has vowed to ensure local government chairmen in Rivers apply public funds to improve the lives of rural people in their various areas. This is as the Assembly recently embarks on a fact-finding tour of the 23 local government areas, with some council chairmen saying they can now embark on people-oriented projects which were not possible before the Supreme Court granted local government autonomy. In Okpobo Nkoro local government, the local government area of Governor Simonalai Fubara, the team expressed satisfaction with the projects executed by the Nyada Koki Gam-led government. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NNDPRA, has urged stakeholders in the petroleum downstream sector to ensure the uninterrupted flow of products across the country. The authority chief executive at NMDPRA, Mr. Farouk Ahmed, stated this during the meeting with operators in the sector in Abuja. Mr. Ahmed revealed that the meeting focused on strategies to end the recent spate of petroleum tanker accidents and explosions.
And there you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. Let's now swim in the waters of a major matter we have before us tonight, and which is being a controversial, long-coming debate and scrutiny over the tax reform bills. So there's so much ado about we want to reform the tax system in Nigeria. So the 4 reform bills transmitted to the National Assembly in 2024 by President Bola Tinubu today scaled the second reading in the House of Representatives. The bill scaled second reading on the floor of the Green Chamber, and some 6 months after the president transmitted them to the National Assembly for consideration, following the recommendations of the Taiwo Yedide-led Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. The bills include the Nigeria Tax Bill 2024, the Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. The bill, having scaled second reading, will now be subjected to a public hearing. The new tax bills were enveloped or subjected to widespread controversy and sparked a lot of criticisms across the nation, and stiff opposition came from many, including some eminent northern figures, including some governors and opposition politicians, who demanded the withdrawal of the bills from the National Assembly. But recently we've seen something that looked like an understanding, when the governors now look like they have agreed with some of the part of the bill, which also some part they've asked to review. But let me allow you to listen to some portions of the debate on the floor of the Greenwich Chambers today.
The committee that will be charged with the responsibility of addressing some of the issues will definitely look at some of the issues that I will raise on this floor today. Some of these challenges, there is constitutional and jurisdictional concerns, particularly in section 141, which deals with supremacy clause, which contradicts some of the positions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then there is the issue of overlap and on the existing laws, particularly Personal Income Tax Act, Company Income Tax Act, and the FRS Tax Act. There is some existing conflict that this bill may cause, which I believe the committee will definitely look at these issues.
We have seen that where we're heading to now, we are going to have a lot of funds available. But please, I'm begging, I'm pleading with the executive arm of government. I'm pleading with Mr. President and the states, thank you, that these funds, if generated, should be properly utilized to solve the problem of our basic needs.
As much as we have penalties for tax evaders, I want us equally to have enshrined in this bill the managers of the taxes for any infractions or the same consequences that will be applied to tax evaders. Government should equally bear the same consequence in return, and in this case, those that are applying the tax. Taxpayers will be so happy and glad to pay taxes when they see the reason they are paying these taxes.
I've heard people speaking and speaking and speaking of challenges, of disadvantage, a whole manner of things I think we ought to look at when we get to the next stage, which is the public hearing. I don't want us to eat the whole cake. We should take our own now, which is to just look at the general principles. And then when we get to the public stage hearing, when Nigerians will be involved, all manner of people will be involved, we will look at those details being raised here today.
There you have it. You've seen some of the portions of the debate, snippets of what went down on the Green Chamber. But at the end of the day, the fundamentals is that the bills passed a second reading, which is one of the processes about 5 or so in legislative in lawmaking in Nigeria. Of course, you have the first reading, the second reading, and second reading usually you have the general principles of the proposed legislation being debated. Then it's going to be subjected to public hearing, and when that is done, perhaps go back to the committee that is relevant to the bills. They will sit on it and bring it back to the floor. And when that is debated, then it goes into clause by clause and further scrutiny before it's become passed. This kind of bills will have to get the concurrence in the right chambers in the Senate. Let's get a sense. One of those who debated fiercely today, and perhaps one of the strongest points that was made by Honorable Sada Soli, who is a member of the House of Representatives from Katsina, representing APC in the House of Reps. It's live for us. Honorable, it's good to have you join us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.
Much ado about the tax reform bills, isn't it? And what we've heard, at last what we say, is, you know, it's past the second reading. But it got a lot of people worried that this really divided Nigeria across regional, party, religious, ethnic lines. Why? What was in that bill or those bills that almost tore Nigeria apart? Why?
No, I think it should be fair to Nigerians and those that are conversant with the legislative process world over. This bill did not attempt to divide this country. This bill attempted and did very well for this country. This bill brought this the the discussions is generated nationally actually strengthen the quality of this bill, and then it will also strengthen the sustainability of these bills when they are signed into law. There was no attempt to divide this country, but rather the interest groups that are touched, or those that feel that some part of these bills or some part of this piece of legislation touch some part of their interest, or their local interest, their local base, their businesses, it's normal for these stakeholders to talk about
and I know what you meant by that, and I was interested. Don't forget, I was right at the center of it. Every day on this program, dissecting what this means for the interest of the Nigerian people. Yeah. But in my little years of doing this job, I'm not sure I've seen so many other legislation that has really touched on. When you have leaders from a region of the country who say, look, this is not in the interest of the North. That was a major one.
I would tell you one bill in the history of National Assembly that's nearly touched something like that. The Water Resources Bill.
Yeah, it was, and even the Electoral Act Amendment Bill.
Thank you.
Also did. But I'm saying that there are not so many. Right. There's not so many. And the reasons are, I mean, if you look at every bill and the reasons why they have those sensitivities, you will understand. But you are a leader in the North, and that's why I'm asking you pointedly. Yes. What is in this piece of legislation that really made, the first we saw was a combination of Northern governors, traditional rulers, and eminent Northern leaders who came together and said, look, this is not in the interest of our
Do you know why?
Why?
Because they were the first people to pay attention to this legislation. That's it. The North, in terms of coming up to protect the interests of this country, is always you find the North in the front line coming to voice out what really should strengthen the unity of this country. So what the North did is in the interest of the country. Only that we were a bit more alert at a point. We were more politically conscious on the issues that borders on these bills, and therefore it's incumbent on us, it's binding on us to talk about it.
It's interesting.
It has nothing to do with about the North, but we felt that...
But what worried me, Honorable Soli, was the part where there were ulterior motives, and there are conversations that came up to the extent or to the point where people were insinuating, and some people who perhaps saw it differently, some leaders of the North who saw things differently said, no, this is not against us. We need to actually have the conversation. So that was what, so there were, it looked to me that there were people who did not read it properly. We went to town and said, you know, they took political messaging out of it.
Let me tell you what happened with those bills. And perhaps that was the mistake that was done from the presidency. They didn't realize these bills are capable enough of being captured by politics and trust deficit.
Sensitive.
They are very sensitive. These two things, the trust deficit and politics, hijacked these bills, and therefore mixed everything. But at the end, it was good for these bills because it has brought the good, the bad, and the ugly of these bills that will strengthen these legislations when they are assented to.
Did you see the leader of your party, President Bola Tinubu, retracing his step politically speaking? Because there are those who say he should have done that earlier, consulted politically speaking, and said, "Oh, governors, come! I need this bill passed. This is important for I'm about reforms and I want things done." Oh, traditional rulers, I want to speak with you. He did a few of those things later on when things almost became
Let me help you. Let's be fair to the president. The president is only one person, and for the president to take a decision, he has to rely on certain advice. I think the president was poorly advised. People that drafted this bill, in the first place, the draft was poorly done because they were referring to the bills act, the preponderance of act in these bills. When I read these bills, I knew they were poorly drafted. I knew they were not subjected to drafters, professional drafters. And then the president is an individual. We have to be fair to him. He was advised by these consultants. He was advised by those that have that feel that they have done a good job. And then it didn't go through the normal process that it should have gone. That's my belief. Bola Tinubu, anybody that knows his political sagacity, is an inclusive politician. You can see him all over this country. I have to be fair to him. And that's when he realized these bills is capable of causing some problems, he subjected it to all scrutiny. He said, governors, go and look at it. He said, the Senate, go and sit down with the Attorney General of the Federation. And then he discussed with the Speaker. Speaker, allow the members of the House of Representatives to look widely, to consult widely before you try to consider this bill. And that's where we are today. Apart from the demonstration of legislative engineering of members and the Speaker in particular, these bills could have been where they were before.
I mean, and also there are those who say, kudos to the president that did not give in to the pressure of withdrawing the bills. Because there were pressure to say, look, take back those bills. And the president said, look, I've presented the bill. If it's going to be corrected, it's going to be adjusted, it's going to allow the people who are being paid to do the job, to get the job done. I would not withdraw it. And perhaps some of those who now saw the future thought that the president did the right thing.
No, I don't think the president, he is not going to withdraw it. No, it's part of negotiation. You see, politics, or when you table laws before the parliament, that's what you need to do, which is legal negotiation and lobby. And then that's when the president deploy his principles, his technicalities, the resources that are available for him to lobby the National Assembly, to lobby the stakeholders, and to lobby whoever is interested in getting these bills fashioned out correctly, rightly, and sensibly. I think that's what the president gave in. He didn't say that he's not going to withdraw. If it is necessary for the president to withdraw it in the interest of the overriding public interest, he will, because he is having this country. But I think we didn't get there, or those that are insinuating the president refused to withdraw. No, we didn't get that signal that from the Mr. President that is going to withdraw this bill. He said,
but the NEC had advised. There was a position of the NEC to say withdraw it. Some governors were saying withdraw it.
No, I don't think NEC said withdraw. NEC expressed their opinion.
But that was a request.
The governors forum and other key stakeholders, no. Shaun, let's be fair to the whole process. People and stakeholders raise some concerns. And then the government or Mr. President listened. And then the bills were subjected to national debates across the country. Even those that kept quiet, those who even don't like some provisions of the bill because of some political reasons or otherwise, they kept quiet. We know they don't like these provisions because they talk to us behind the doors. So we considered all their concerns, and because we are representative of the people, we presented it so that at least the National Assembly or the House of Representatives will look at all the gamut of the issues that were presented before us.
You were worried, and you said it on the floor, and there's some portions, you said it clearly, that you were still concerned about some aspect of the bills. There are 4 of them, the establishment bill, the reforms on the collection, the reunification. There are a whole lot of aspects of these 4 pieces of legislation. Which of these areas gave you the most concern that you raised on the floor today?
You see, one of the general areas that were concerns were expressed is the issue on the Section 77 of the Tax Administration Bill, and which deals with the issue of derivation, where it allocated 60% to derivation, which generated quite a lot of concern. For those that are privy to the data of distribution of tax, VAT, they know what it means by 60% to derivation. But the lacuna there, the bills refuse, or there was an oversight by those who drafted the bills to interpret the word derivation. What is the position of the word derivation? If they had done that, there couldn't have been any other thing. You and I know what is the concern of VAT. VAT is about consumption. It's about consumption, really. But then what is the position of derivation in this, to the extent that it has taken the position of the 2007 Tax Act, where it gave 20%. Now it has moved to 60%. What has changed? Now, that was the concern. Then there were issues of overlap and existing laws, which is also that should be taken.
Before you go,
escalation.
Let's go back to the derivation, because that was a very touchy area. And the governors who came out to say, look, with what the calculation and the permutations based on this proposition is, we will not be able to pay salaries. We are going to be in trouble. So you are raising a concern that those calculations have to be redone. You heard the proposition by the governors, because the governors met with the Oyedele team, the FRS team, and they came up with their own position. Do you agree with the proposition of the governors?
I think in my view, I think the status quo should be maintained, the 20% derivation. The 30%, the governors calculated that it should be for derivation, 50% for equality, and 20% for population. I think because there is going to be a lot of money, the tax base has been expanded, so more money will come in. So I think that there will be enough for derivation for those states and local governments where the emanation of these or the headquarters of these, in terms of getting away from consumption. I think they are too generous. They are too generous because we have to bring the issue of equity. Equity for those states that are lagging behind in terms of economic opportunities. So if you give 60%, there is not going to be equity to states that are economically disadvantaged. But I think, in my view, the 20% should be maintained. And I'm sure by the time we get to the public hearing, when the data is presented before the committee, people will understand that 20% or maintaining the status quo should be.
Give us an understanding, because there are those who say, with the 20%, we're going to be shortchanged. In the calculations from what the governors, the positions the governors gave, it looked to me like states like Lagos and Rivers State are going to be at the brunt. They're going to get way lesser, and the proportions are higher. Those two states are really going to, and every other state, including the FCT, are going to have a fair share of an increment in what goes to them.
Let me be honest with you.
In that calculation the governors gave.
That is not true. Why is it they are getting more now with 20% when the tax base is not even expanded? Remember, one of the basic principles of these bills is to expand the tax base. Bring in technology. Bring in even the fintech assets, the technology assets, the digital assets. They're not involved into this. Look at the amount of money that is there, that is missing in the tax base. You increase, you expand it, you get more money. They are getting more money. States, Lagos State, River State, Kano State, they are getting more money with the 20%. What more of 60%? And more so, anybody that is telling you there will be short change, do they have the data? Have they collected the tax? They collected the VAT to amount from all the amendment that we have made. Have we test run these bills to know how much money has come into the kitties of government for people to insinuate that they will be shortchanged?
Have you been able to run the numbers, Honorable?
It's not possible. Anybody that tells you who run the numbers, it's not possible, because these bills have not been passed.
So the principle of you do a simulation based on what the data that you have.
Yes.
I'm saying based on the data.
Yes.
If it's larger, then the pot becomes larger. Yeah. That's the question. But based on what is available right now, the simulation as of when the governors presented their, I'm telling you that 2 states are going to get way lesser than what they are getting at the moment, which is Lagos and Rivers State.
Let me be honest.
The rest of the states are going to be they are going to be in the green in terms of the quantum of what they get.
You see, all these are semantics in accounting. We know all these technicalities. Some of them are cooking the figures.
Really?
Yes. The figures are being cooked. If Lagos State, River State, Kano State are getting more money with 20%, remember the 2007 Section 40 of the Act said not less than 20%. Not less than 20%, and they were getting more money. It is because they are getting more money. That's why people raise concern of the 60%. That's the issue.
So the governors are saying that because now it's going to be literally more even. So the question is the percentage of what you get more. Now, that's the position you are holding. Is that it?
Well, it's not about that. What we are holding is equity. You see, we are in a federal system, and this country is lucky to love each section of this country, regardless of the politics of it. We love each other. I've seen a Hausa man marrying a Yoruba woman. I've seen a Yoruba woman marrying a Hausa man. I've seen a Bibio man marrying a Hausa woman. I mean, we love each other, and everybody feels that this country should be run equitably, should be run with fairness and with some political sense. And that's why people are talking about this issue.
I wanted to look at those figures right on the screen, if they can bring them back. And that was the position of the governors. 50% based on equality. 30% based on derivation. Yes. 20% based on population.
Yes.
So this is, you agree with this?
Let me be honest with you, I need the data to agree with this. I need the data to agree with this.
What percentage works for you?
I think maintaining the status quo, considering the amount of money that will come into the kitty, into the box, when these bills are passed into law, look, so many people will come into the tax net.
So we don't need to change what is on ground. That's what you're saying. We should maintain it.
Let us test run. Let someone bring me the data of 20% derivation now and apply the 60%, and you will see if you will not get more money. Talk less of what you open the tax.
So when you now say equality, because you mentioned the issue.
I'm not talking about equality. I'm talking about equity.
Okay.
Equality.
So
what equality of states?
What indices are you measuring equity?
You see, there are some states that are economically disadvantaged. Why should states that are economically advantaged subsumed the little advantage that the less economically advantaged states are? Is there any equity in a country that is one?
But I mean, when you are talking about economic competition, when you are
we're not talking about economic competition.
No,
Look,
because
remember
the idea consumption.
Remember, why is the consumption of goods that are produced in Lagos? Can you tell me where is the consumption that the goods that are
some of
produced
these
in
things are pushed by economic environment that are created by some of these states. The question is that why are those states also not creating the economic environment?
It is because of those
to drive their
it's because of that economic consideration. That's why look, orange in the US is produced in Florida, and somebody in Canada is taking it. Is consuming it. Somebody in Washington is consuming it. What are you talking about? We are talking about the economic consideration. Everybody has a role. If you are a producer and I'm a consumer, you should consider my consumption ability and my consumption contribution to the economy. If you are a producer and I'm a consumer, you should be able to acknowledge the fact that consume your product. It's supposed to be a win-win situation.
So give us an understanding. That's one angle, actually. And I mean, I like your language in defining equity. But again, one thing that is very fundamental, we do know, if you look at South Africa, for example, with about 60-something million population, and you look at their consumption tax, and consumption tax, you can only consume based on the number of people that you have. You look at what South Africa collect as consumption tax is way more than what Nigeria.
How large
so the question?
How large is the economy?
This is where I'm driving at something there, and I agree that we are not able to effectively collect our taxes.
Correct.
And I believe that there are a lot of loopholes, there are a lot of gaps. So, and I'm coming to the point of the collection mechanisms, the unification, the renaming. Because the tax office is going to be renamed. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that.
Do you agree with the techniques? Because it looks to me like what is obtained in the United Kingdom, that is what we are trying to adopt.
That's the world best practice. What we are doing, will
it work for the Nigerian system?
It will work, but it will take some time, especially with the area of fiscalization where they're bringing technology. Because there are less There are areas where there is this technology could not reach them. Even the FRS offices, some of them don't have enough connectivity. It takes them. This fiscalization issue that they're saying they will employ, they need to drive it carefully. They need to do it in phases so that we will achieve at the end the legislation will be effective and will be implementable.
Now, I look at what is going on in the country right now, and I'm worried because a lot of the physical contact that you get in governance diminishes, and it causes a lot of, it diminishes governance delivery, and it causes a lot of corruption. And when e-governance, digitization of governance is properly done and effectively done, it will reduce the effect of corruption. And I'm wondering how we are going to be able to arrive at it, because there are some agencies of government that collect taxes and they don't have any business. So it takes away from their primary objective and they focus more on generating revenue. Because I don't understand why they will subject JAMB, customs, and some other agencies to collecting and raking in revenue. They are not revenue raking agencies.
Let me help you, Sharon. You see, that is one of the areas of concerns in the bills, because it refused to recognize the issue of Fiscal Responsibility Act, where it allows government agencies to collect revenue, the IGR. So it's one of the lacunas that the drafters of these bills didn't pay attention to.
Are you able to resolve it with this?
We will resolve it during the public hearing, because we'll bring out all these hearings.
Because let the tax collecting agency collect it.
That is
focus. If you are what's it called? Focus on the primary goal that you are being. So, and that's the question I'm asking you, Honorable, is whether or not in the renaming, because beyond what is in the name, beyond the renaming, beyond the unification, yes, are we able to digitize and effectively achieve e-governance with the establishment bill that is being created?
You see, I think we can achieve these things, but it's going to take about 10 or 15 years.
Really?
Yes.
That long?
Yes. I'm telling you this.
To plug the loopholes?
Yes. The infrastructure, laying the digital infrastructure is huge. Look at how big this country is. We have 774 local government, and then the FRS said they want to have offices in 774 local governments. Some of them don't even have connectivity. Some of them don't even have electricity. What are they going to do? So it's a huge tax. That's why our advice is to phase the fiscalization process or fiscalization system in phases. If we start to attack it head on, we'll be stuck somewhere.
So, Honorable, give me an understanding. You've seen some of the downside of these propositions. Yes. Give me the upsides.
I think there are many upsides. One, it will enhance revenue generation. It will streamline the tax administration system. It will enhance tax dispute resolution. And then also, it will it will modernize the revenue generation system by bringing all the loopholes together, nipping them in the bud, and allowing the Revenue Service Agency to deal with some of these nitty-gritties in a holistic manner. But you see, we must be careful in the way we implement these legislation, because some of these things, people don't like change, especially businesses that make money. Instead of bringing more people in the tax net, and then people begin to evade tax because of the loopholes that the laws would provide.
How good will Tinubu government look if this is effectively administered?
I think this government will look good by the time these bills are put in implementation carefully, reasonably, with discipline. Carefully, reasonably, with discipline.
There are also fears, Honorable, that the interests of a few people are going to be catered for.
Where is the interest?
No, I'm asking you. Those are the political innuendos that are being put into this.
I know the concern where they said if Nigerian Revenue Service could not adopt fiscalization, they can use third party. We will interpret what that word third party means. Does it mean if you cannot do fiscalization, you cannot bring digital thing, you will involve consultant? We will define that third party. I mean, the public hearing will not leave anything unturned. Everything, let me be honest with you, and let me assure Nigerians, everything will be on the table.
How soon will the public hearing be?
I think by tomorrow, maybe the speaker will announce the composition of the finance committee, and then there are some other administrative things, and then the committee will meet, and then they'll put their timetable, and they'll make it known to the public.
Honorable Sada Soli, thank you so much indeed. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. I think I should bring you sometimes back to talk about politics.
I am always ready for you.
How is it going in Katsina?
Katsina is good.
Right.
Katsina is good.
How is your party doing?
I think in Northwest, Katsina is the most promising in terms of delivering APC.
And the most lucky northern states in terms of since 1999 too.
Why?
You produced Buhari, you produced Yoradua, and there's Sada Soli too.
I have no comments.
You produced the former speaker too.
I have no comments.
You see why you're lucky?
I have no comments. I have no comments.
APC has a firm grip on Katsina, is that it?
Yes, we are. The governor is disciplined, and he's not a witch hunt person. He's very inclusive, and then so far he has demonstrated sincerity in administering the state. He has never been accused of any profligacy, and he's a bit careful in terms of the finances of the state. And
the bandits are still troubling you people.
Well, that's the whole country.
No, but
if the north has banditry, the south has. But the thing is going down.
But are you worried also that your party is losing steam? It doesn't look like your party.
No.
If you go for an election today, you're in trouble.
The only troublesome, you see these tax bills, was a lot of setbacks for this government.
Are you able to repair it?
We will do that. We'll try to do that by the public hearing, assure our people. And then secondly, food inflation is another problem.
It's a lot of problem. And it's biting hard, not only in the north.
Yes.
I understand that ulama, sheikhs, and northern Muslim Islamic leaders are really carrying the message about this. Yes. And it really caused a lot of...
Food inflation is really a problem, Shaun. It's really...
Is your party able to come back from all of this damage?
I think it's...
Is one damage too many?
I think it's not about the party. It's about everybody. It's not... You see, when we isolate these things to say the party, that's where we're missing the point. It's about everybody. If a common farmer who produces maize didn't want to key in with economic policies, how do we achieve bringing down inflation? If you have people that buy food and hoard...
Your national chairman said Tinubu will spend 8 years. But is it being optimistic or is it being unrealistic?
Tinubu will spend 8 years.
Are you certain?
Yes. Where are the parties that can provide leadership?
Atiku is there.
Atiku, I don't think he's running.
Peter Obi is there.
Look at his party, it's in disarray. I don't think they will give him nomination. If they give him nomination, it will be...
So it's a walk in the park for
It will be subject to a lot of litigation.
It's a walk in the park
for Tinubu. It's just to let you know how organized, how disciplined the APC is, because we didn't allow this wrangling within the party.
Honorable Sada Soli, thank you. You need to come back. We need to talk about the politics. And I know your sagacity, politically speaking. Thank you. Distinguished Honorable Sada Soli. Thank you. We'll take a break, everyone. But when we come, let me take you back to the problem of the Labour Party, the internal wranglings. Abayomi Arabambi is live for us from Lagos. And thank you so much, Mr. Arabambi. You heard yesterday what Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, and he said, you, Mr. Apampa, you wanted to to take over the party, but you were unsuccessful. He fought you, according to him, in taking over the party, and now you have colluded, or you are colluding with Mr. Abure to internally take over the destiny of the party. How do you react to some of the things Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo said yesterday?
Well, thank you, Sheung. I think I need to make a certain thing clear here. When he came yesterday, he asked a luxury of time because we have a lot of things. I have satisfactory copy of most of the information he misled the public with. I have it right there on my phone. But I don't think these 14 minutes, will be enough. But let me try my best. You see, for whatever he might have said, Labour Party crisis is as a result of, some heavily, defeated and demystified political non-actors who, since over 2 years now, you see them, making comment, believing it is the interest of the Labour Party. That is, what we have. And Kenneth Okonkwo, as a person, have been involved, in some form of greed for cheap blackmail against our national leadership, and he had decided to abandon the import of the judgment of a court, federal court, to judgment, and court of appeal to judgment. But as a lawyer, I hope the national president of NBA is watching me, because it is wrong for a lawyer to be a purveyor of a fake news, that you can go to court and seek the certified copy, of the judgment or the proceeding. I am not a lawyer, but I need to make the record straight. Now, with Edgar Papa, I don't want to talk about that, it's a past issue. We are now, in the new order in Labour Party. Now, to be very honest, Mr. Kenneth
Before you get there, just for a moment, let's clear the air. They say he who comes with equity to equity must come with bare, clean hands. Yes. So the question here is that you, Mr. Pampa, and the rest of your crew, before the election, you were up in arms against Mr. Abure. You were saying Mr. Abure was corrupt. You were saying Mr. Abure is illegal. You were saying Mr. Abure should not be the national chairman of the party.
Let me answer you.
Just for a moment, let me land on the question. How now is it that you're now the best of friends with Mr. Abure? What happened?
Yeah,
Are you born again?
I would have asked him why he was also fighting with Mr. Abure now. Because you all knew they were together with the NSC president when they went to that party secretariat. And they said they came to fumigate myself and Alaji Apapa away from that secretariat. But that's not an issue. You see, when you take anything to court, even though I'm not a lawyer, but I know for modesty, I think I've initiated over 300 and something cases personally myself, and that has made me to be well regimented in the issue of law. When a court make pronouncement, you don't go about vilifying the judges. When they say, oh, you brought something before them, and they say, no, this thing is like this, you have to abide by it, or you proceed to the higher court. Yes, we were in court, with him, why all of them were with, the national chairman. But once a court has settled that matter, in the interest of peace and justice and our nation, because the honorable that just left made 2 important statements, that, oh, they are in disarray. Yes, Obi, you said, oh, Obi is there. I said, yeah, provided they give him nomination. We are going to give them a good run for their money. Mr. Tinubu, Senator Bola Tinubu, not just going to have it very easy in 2027. We are coming back with that Peter Obi to them so that they will know we are very serious. Now, back to the issue of Kenneth Okonkwo. You see, he was just trying to misplace fact and priorities here. We have 2 federal court judgments delivered by Justice Emeka Inwite. One on September 27, 2024, and one on October 8, 2024. Now, the one of September 2027 arises from issue of Ondo, where this candidate sponsored by Comrade Juajero, that is Chief Olushola Ebiseni Nehemiah, proceeded to court before Justice Emeka Inwite with some document that he was the rightful candidate and that one Abdulwahid Omar, who was the caretaker chairman of the NSC faction, was the substantive national chairman. Justice Emeka Inwite agreed with them because that was what they supplied, and Labour Party were not allowed to join. When that document was delivered on September 27, 2024, the Labour Party now proceeded to Court of Appeal. And Justice Baka, now being the lead judge, ruled on that day that Abure candidate, that is Ayolorunfemi, should be replaced back, because that was the name the first of all published. And in that judgment, Justice Baka, that was where they made their mistake. Justice Baka in that judgment pronounced the leadership of Julius Abure as substantive. That is the Court of Appeal, and that judgment was in October 13, 2024. Now, the second one arose when they were not pleased. They didn't appeal that judgment to Supreme Court. They left it because they felt, oh, election in Ondo State was just a day or two to, the day. So they abandoned it, and that means they are settled bar, they cannot go forward. Now, the second one was when they went to meet INEC, INEC collaborated with them. They hindered the national chairman, by Sir Julius Abure. They hindered the national secretary, Alhaji Farouk Umar, from entering the INEC, the consultative meeting. When we saw that, they also refused to give them the access code and the training of the agent, uploading of the agent. Then it was then Abure now as a plaintiff and Labour Party went before that federal court again, Justice Emeka Iwite, and he now gave a judgment that INEC, you must recognize him as a candidate. As the national chairman and Farouk as the national secretary. This was when INEC now filed an appeal, which is very, very unusual. INEC proceeded to Court of Appeal to go and file an appeal against the second judgment that was handed over in October 8th. That was the second federal court judgment. It was in that one that they just gave judgment on January 17th. And let me be very honest with you, what the judges say. Now that an appellate court in October 13, November 13, has already ruled that Abure is the substantive national chairman, and that judgment was not appealed. The court now said the two appeals brought by Nenadi Usman, the illegitimate National Category Committee, and the INEC, he said they lack jurisdiction to entertain it. And in law, for God's sake, Kenneth Okonkwo need to learn this. When a court declares jurisdiction, you have no case before them. When the court declares jurisdiction, the court also now make a pronouncement that ab initio, there was already a judgment of the Court of Appeal in November, and that the other one of October 8th, the last jurisdiction, they were not even supposed to even entertain it, that Justice Iwite was not supposed to entertain another judgment of October 8th when the same subject matter before the same court of coordinate jurisdiction had delivered judgment on 27th. Now, this was what Kenneth Okonkwo was now lying to the public, that the court said, oh, they declined jurisdiction. I want to educate him. I'm not a lawyer. When you take a matter to court before the Court of Appeal, if you are not appealant, my dear brother, you are dissatisfied with the judgment. That means there is something in that judgment that you are not comfortable with. If you go and withdraw your matter, or that judgment is against you, my dear brother, the subject matter in the previous court, that is federal court, or Court of Appeal, if it is Supreme Court, is substantive, is valid before the law. So what is happening today is that we were shocked, we were flabbergasted when we saw Kenneth Okonkwo referring to Barrister Julius Abure as former national chairman, referring to Alhaji Farouk as former national secretary, referring to NWC as former NWC, when he as a lawyer know fully well that an appellate court on January 27 and 17 has upheld Barrister Julius Abure and Alhaji Farouk as substantive national chairman and national secretary. Yeah. It is a disgrace to that profession.
You're very able to, yeah. Mr. Arabambi, I have some very quick questions, and I'd like you to, maybe if you can, please, respond as quickly as possible, too. You've responded to Mr. Okonkwo, but let me ask you, the question that you were not able to answer earlier, my question was that you called Mr. Abure a lot of names. You made him look like a bad guy. Now, what has happened? Is he now a good guy?
No.
The man you said was everything bad that should not be the national chairman, but now you are working with him. What has happened between then and now?
No. You see, I told you, we proceeded to court. I said we are different from this Kenneth Okonkwo of a group. When a court make a pronouncement, Nigeria, we must learn to abide by something. no matter how good you are, what my Lord Justices from the Federal Court to the Court of Appeal to Supreme Court, once they make a pronouncement, let us abide by it. It's not just for us to rush to the press and now be castigating them, because if something favors you today and you say, oh, glory to God.
So you're saying that all your differences, Mr. Arabambi, all your differences because of the judgment of God has been laid to bear. You were referring to Abure as an alleged criminal. You were calling him names, but all those crimes have been forgotten and written off. Is that the case?
Because the court says so, we don't have any choice. And let me also remind you, today, in Nigeria, even though they didn't go to court, we know the name they called the city president, but today they were together. Even without going to court, you know, they don't make flimsy, outlandish accusation, even against the president. But for us, I said, we have gone to court, and the court has made final pronouncement. Shehu, what do you want me to do? Once a court make a final pronouncement,
let me ask you another quick one.
A quick one. The law is that any judgment from any court in Nigeria, the Supreme Court has made it very clear that court judgment of a court must be obeyed. Judgment of the court must be obeyed. But we are not like Kenneth, you know, who will be calling judges.
Mr. Arabambi, just a moment. Let me ask you, and I'm hoping that you might be honest with Nigerians tonight.
Yes.
A lot of things are at stake. Integrity, trust, and everything is at stake here.
Yeah, of course.
How much did you collect, you and Mr. Pampa, to disrupt the Labour Party?
There was never a time we collected any money, and that is why today I said we will see use Mr. Peter Obi in our presidential election to unseat the APC administration. That's number one. Number two, everybody knows the reason for the crisis Labour Party is because of an attempt by certain individual injured players from lesser team who came on loan into Labour Party. They hide their medical only for us to discover when they get to Labour Party that they are not qualified. In Nigeria today, all of you, Oshotoku came on your station to say that they were unable to pay Gen. That was not the business of Mr. Peter Obi. He has implicit confidence in them that they would do well, but we never knew some of them are injured players from where they were coming from. Oshotoku is a member of the Labour Party. He came on loan to Labour Party. We never knew he was an injured player, that he would not be able to do it best. But we are going to guide, we are going to guide against most of these anomalies. And that's why for us today, like the honorable, your guest that just left, they should not go and rest on their hours. We are coming strongly. There is no crisis of leadership in Labour Party. Labour Party is not going to extinction. It is just, figment imagination of most of these our detractors. And we wish Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo well. His resignation is actually a good riddance to bad rubbish. He should not be speaking about Labour Party anymore.
Mr. Arabambi, there are people, I'm sure that you have seen some posts online that when your campaign in the 2023 election, you have refused to pay the vendors who helped you with stage, with lighting, with sound equipment. Why is your party still owing vendors? How many years now after the campaigns?
No, two people will be able to answer that. Aisha Yesufu and Pastor Itwai Godalo, the two of them should be able to answer that. They were the one in charge of the campaign fund, not even the party. I am going to exonerate the national chairman and NWC. They were the one that handled party money. They should go and settle that. And that's what I said. Ochutoku has confirmed on this station and the other sister station that they were the one that were unable to pay them. Labour Party did not handle the campaign fund. It was Aisha Yesufu and Pastor Itwai Godalo. The two of them were the one that handled it. So they should go and sort those people out. But in 2027, we are not going to have such political rascality in our party. We are going to get that done. We are moving between ourselves now. The national chairman is on reconciliation mission, and that is why you see a lot of people now jittery, including the honorable that just left and the APC man. He's going back to APC. He's been working with President Tinubu before, that Kenneth Okonkwo. He worked with them against Peter Obi and Atiku in 2019. We know he's still going back there. We wish him well. We will meet, in the political in 2027.
Abayami Arabambi. Yeah, Mr. Abayami Arabambi is a member of the Labour Party. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Wakimale. God bless Nigeria.